This is Dr. Amarjit Kaur. I am Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at the Department of Management in Gurugram University. I have about 31 years of experience in teaching and food industry. I have authored 58 research papers and either authored or edited 10 books. Have been fortunate to teach at two foreign universities, Valparaiso University of USA in Greater Chicago and North Dakota State University again in USA. So this is my privilege that I am here with you to discuss negotiation approaches. This is the series of business communication which we are running from the last couple of weeks, and the negotiation is the topic which we are covering today again in the third consecutive lecture. So negotiation approaches, as the name or the title suggests, what are the approach or approaches available to one to pursue negotiation. That's what the crux of this topic is. So how to approach towards negotiation. That's we are going to discuss in couple of moments. So the success of negotiation depends upon many factors, right? And the most important factor is that what kind of approach a negotiator takes during the process of negotiation. So the approach could be that somebody may like to use force, somebody may like to use some good strategy, somebody may believe in the process, and so on. Somebody may take care of the interest of the other party and more of may pay attention to the need and the requirement of the other party. So it is the approach which decides the success or the end outcome of a negotiation, right? So negotiation is a process that can be approached in many ways. Whatever strategy you choose, success lies in how well you are prepared, right? So certainly there are many approaches, it means, right? And it is a process which can be approached in many ways, and certainly it will depend upon the personality of the negotiator, the belief system of the negotiator, the experience and the education of the negotiator, right? The cultural background of the negotiator. So how would so it's a process, right? So it can be approached in different way. It will depend upon that somebody is giving more focus on the individual requirement, another is giving more focus to the process, third one is believing in the power of strategy. So it can be approached in many ways, and important is whatever strategy, whatever approach one may choose, the real success, the favorable outcome of negotiation will depend upon that how well a negotiator is prepared. It means he or she need to review the purpose of negotiation, the benefits which can be or must be achieved during the negotiation. So deciding the bottom line for oneself, for the company you are working for, right? And also assessing the need and the requirement of the other party. So success, so for all these things you need to be prepared. You need to review, research, get the information and be prepared very well, including the agenda. Every small to big thing depends. How do you follow the whole process of negotiation will depend upon that how you are prepared, how well are you prepared for this. So, coming forward, if I refer to the approaches we use in negotiation, and if I wish to group them, there are 5 approaches of negotiation. So, classification of negotiation approaches. Number 1, structural analysis. Number 2, strategic analysis approach. Number 3, process analysis approach. Number 4 is integrative analysis approach, and number 5 is behavioral analysis approach. So in all we have these 5 approaches. I shall be discussing each of the 5 approaches in detail one by one for the remaining few minutes. So we will take up the structural analysis first. So structural analysis approach, as just refer to the slide. Approach is structural, as the name suggests. The basic features are focus on means, position and power. Assumptions, which are underlying assumptions, are win-loss, lock into position might lead to lost opportunity for mutually beneficial agreement and limitations over emphasis on power. So now I shall be discussing this structural analysis approach in details. So name suggests clearly it has a structure. This approach believes in some structure. So that's why we call it as structural approach. So here in the structural approach, we will assess all the means we have, all the resources we have. What is our position in negotiation? Where do we stand? What is our power? The bargaining power, the power here, it's not only the bargaining power, the possession of resources, the control in forms of the size of the party, which is representing how many groups are the part of that party, that business. So how much is the size of the business? All those things matter here. So that's the basic feature in this structural approach. So it means we are focusing on the means, the resources, which includes position and power. So here I as a negotiator will review where do I stand, how much power do I have, how many resources do I have, to which extent I can forego my interest, and what are the resources which I must win, right? So this approach believes in the power and believes in either winning or losing. So that's what the assumption is, win or lose. I will win, so I need this much, I need this for sure. So I have these means, I have this power, this is my position in this deal, in this deal to be discussed or going to be discussed. So so this is a kind of win-lose situation. I will either win or I will lose the deal. Okay, so here doesn't mean the complete deal. It is the end result which you set for yourself, right? So that's what the assumption is, and this particular approach actually, it locks into the position that might be achieved, and certainly it will be that we are going to lose the opportunity, which may which may not be beneficial, which may be beneficial. So certain assumptions are there that lock into the position might lead to lost opportunity, and that opportunity which we are losing is for mutual benefit. It's fine. If I am losing, I was expecting to sell at 120 rupees, anything you assume, any product, and the party who was the buyer wanted to buy it at 110. So you says no way I will sell less than 120. I've already assessed my means, position, my power, right? So it is, if I get 120, I win the deal, right? And the other party, no way I'm going to buy more than 110, so I'm going to lose. So if both the parties are in following the structural analysis, it's a win or lose, right? So and they believe it's fine, because मेरे को पड़ता नहीं है, this is how the business, पड़ता नहीं है, ये नहीं पड़ता हमारे को, वारा नहीं पड़ता. These are the words which we get to hear in the market, So that's exactly what it means. So it is not beneficial for me to sell below 120, and the same is for the buyer. It is not beneficial for me to buy at 110 or more than 110, right? So so what is this? Here both the parties are considering X or Y amount, and they both believe it is for for the benefit of us. So it's a win or loss situation, and this particular approach is supposed to be having overemphasis, over focus on power part. The means, the power here is the means, the resources. So resources one possesses. Now that resources could be your position, because you could be one single seller of the product, right? You know that Diwali is there, there are festivity, there is a festivity, and the buyer need this product. So that is your power, because you know that buyer has a compulsion to buy this, right? So here the negotiator is putting overemphasis on power, and this becomes limitation. That's why there's no middle path. That is why it ends up to win or lose situation. So this is the structural analysis, the first one. The second approach is strategic analysis approach. Here the approach is known as strategic or game theory, Basic features is focus on ends, rationality and position. Assumptions are win-loss, existence of optimal solution and rationality of players, and limitations are it excludes use of power, players are not differentiated. So, now we shall be discussing this approach in detail. So, the title of this approach is strategic, right? Strategic approach or strategic analysis, which is also known as game theory. So, the origin of this approach, because all the approaches in negotiation have certain background, they come from certain discipline. So, the origin of this approach, which we call it as strategic approach, is from the mathematics, the game theory, right? So, this approach believes in the power of strategy. This approach, it really focuses only on the end result. It says this is my goal, I have to achieve this, right? This is my end result which is expected. So, it focuses only on the goal, only on the end result. It doesn't consider the available resources. So, where was the first one? It was considering on the or focusing on the resources, the means, right? That was a structural one. But here we are saying in the strategic approach, the negotiator will focus on the end result. I have to achieve this goal. This is my expected outcome of out of the negotiation. So, doesn't matter which tactic I use, doesn't matter if I use a force or not, doesn't matter I use a play game, whichever card I may play, right? But my focus is on the goal only. I am not worried about the means I have, the resources I have, the power I have, right? It's completely the goal game, right? And another thing is about this particular approach is it is little rational, it is more rational, because I am focusing on the rationality of the complete negotiation, right? This is my goal, but I am also considering what is the goal of the other. When I am planning to pursue my negotiation, I am paying attention to the real rationale of my demand, my logic of the goal I am putting for my negotiation as an outcome, right? And also I am giving attention to position I hold in the whole discussion. If I am the one of the buyers, there are thousands of buyers, but the supplier is one, then I know I am not very strong in position, because there are so many buyers and only one supplier. So, I know my position, and it could be other way around. Supplier would know that I am the only supplier here, or I am one of the very few suppliers around in North India, in Delhi, in NCR, in South India, wherever we are talking about. So, the basic feature of this approach is it is focusing on the goal, rationality and the position. And certainly the underlying assumptions are win or loss, very much like, because we are not considerate to the other part. We are not trying to enlarge the size of the pie, right? The pie here I am using as a metaphor. So, I have decided my goal, and I know if I and I have used the rationality whichever way I pursued it, and the end and the outcome is either I win or I lose. So, and another assumption it is assuming, this approach assumes that there does exist optimal solution, So, all the players are rational and there are optimal solutions possible in this negotiation, right? So, it means, if I am expecting this as a goal, I have a logic behind it, right? So, I use rational, and I know if I give up this much, or if the other party is demanding, or other negotiator is demanding X or Y part or portion of the deal, so he or she has a logic. So we are assuming the optimal solution is possible because we are rational, we are trying to be just, okay. But this approach has a few limitations. This approach completely ignores the importance of power, right, and also ignores that the players are actually not equal, right. So, they are not differentiated from one another. But the fact is, in any negotiation, all the players are not equal. One is certainly more powerful than the other. It could be, the difference could be this much or this much, right? So, but there is some difference of power between the players. This approach completely ignores the use of power and the differentiation between one player to the another, the relative differentiation I am here talking, right? It completely focuses on goal, the end result I am looking for, and the rationale behind it. So, that is it. So, this is the second approach. Now, moving to the third approach, which we call it as process analysis approach. Approach is concession exchange, which is processual. Basic features are focus on concession making behavior and positions. Assumptions, win-loss, moves as learned responses, right, reactive. Limitations are emphasis on position, lack of predictiveness. So, now we will be discussing about this third approach, process analysis approach. You may call it anything. So, this particular approach is also known as concession, and that too in exchange, right? So, concession happening in exchange. Okay, so I will sell at 120, you said no, I will buy at 110. Then you discussed, you pursued, okay, we will meet up again, right? So, in the next meeting. So, then you come up with some reason, okay, reduce the credit time, but and also sell it at 112, 115, right? Then it is not concluded, okay, come back, we will see. Then you come back and another option comes from the other party, okay, I can give you the credit, but I will not sell at less than 115. So, instead of 112 or 120 or 110, you guys agreed at 115, but it was processual. It was pursued as a process. So, that is what this particular approach is known as, focusing on concession making behavior and making positions. So, you made one position in the beginning, then after certain concession you change to the another position, of course by giving some logic or without giving any logic. Then the other party takes another position. So, it is taking more time and taking as a process, one after the another, gradually we are moving towards the goal. And during the process, some concession is been given by both the negotiators, both the parties who are in the negotiation process. So, this particular approach also believes that assumption is win-loss, and it all depends what is my bottom line, as a buyer or as a seller, as negotiator 1, negotiator 2, right. So, it also ends up win-loss. It is not focusing on that benefit of all or increasing the benefit for all the parties, and this actually believes in reactions, this is a reactive approach, right. So, we will listen to the party, we will see their response, and then we will decide. So, we will be reacting to the proposal, right. So, we call it as learned responses. I learned from the conversation, from the meeting, from the presentation, and I decided my response. So, this is the assumption it has, that this carries learned responses, okay. And certainly every approach has certain limitation. This particular approach of negotiation is that it really emphasizes on position, that I will take this position or he has taken this position, and it lack of predictiveness. So, because people are changing position, people are giving concessions one after another, so one cannot be very sure that what other party is expecting or what would be the bottom line for the other party, right. So, what is the decision making level, or we can't predict, we are not able to predict well in this particular, because in this approach we are taking it as a gradual process and gradually giving concession and gradually changing the position. So, this was the third one which we call as process analysis approach. Moving forward to the fourth one which we call as integrative analysis. So, the approach is integrative. For example, phase theories, process models, principled negotiations. Basic features are focus on problem solving, creating value, communicating win-win solutions. Assumptions are win-win potentials and limitations are encounters with non-integrative bargainers and time consuming. So, we shall be discussing it in detail now. This approach is known by many names. The most important name is integrative approach, right? So, this is based on the phase theory. Phase 1, so we divide the process into phases, right? And it is also known as process model, and it is taken as principled negotiation. So, the negotiation is based on certain principles. So, this particular approach is known as the best approach. It's not that everybody will be following it, and it's not necessary that in all the conditions, under all the circumstances, this particular approach is feasible for people or is actually exercised. No. But the point is, this particular approach, which is integrative approach, is focusing on problem solving. It does focus on problem solving by creating value for all the parties involved, right? So, what we target for, we try to increase the size of the pie. Let's say these many benefits were expected initially when we started talking, but now as negotiators, both of the parties are trying to increase the benefits in totality, so that the share of pie for both the parties is higher than what we started with, right? So, we are trying to create value for each other. We are by communicating, by talking to each other, by sharing honest information, by sharing the expectation, right? And the purpose is to have win-win solution for both the parties. So, we are trying to make a win-win. Both the parties are happy. Both the negotiators end up by getting what they both want. And here we are trying to solve the problem. Okay, so I will. It's not only focusing on, and it's not the matter of money only. It's not the price component, price part of the negotiation, right? Of the product. We have price, we have credit commitments, we have delivery terms, we have the quality of the product, we have so many things, right? So, the quality as well. So, this approach focuses on problem solving, creating value, and is considered the best because it is trying to give win-win solutions for both the parties. So, assumption is win-win potentials. This approach believes that there are potentials for both the parties to be in win-win situation, to be in the in a good situation as an end result. So, as we say, all the approaches have limitation. So, this approach is also not an exception. This approach actually faces problem when the other side, the other negotiator is actually uses non-integrative approach, be it structural, be it strategic, right? So, there is an encounter, then it really creates a problem. And another important point, because there are a lot of deliberations going on to understand, so a lot of communication going on, right? So, the communication process is longer, you need to listen to the other party very carefully, then respond, then need to redesign the solution for the expectations for both the parties, right? Both the parties are working for the expectation. So, it becomes more time consuming. So, that is why this particular approach is time consuming, and this is the limitation of this approach. Now, coming to the last approach, behavioral analysis approach. This approach focuses on behavioral part. For example, diplomatic traits, personality type. Basic features are focus on personality traits. Assumptions are win-loss, role of perception and expectation. and limitations are emphasis on position. So now we will be discussing it in detail. So this approach is, as the name suggests, behavioral. So behavioral approach means it focuses, it focuses on behavior of the negotiators, right? So what type of personality is there who is involved in negotiation? That will decide the outcome of the negotiation. This approach claims that the personality traits of the negotiator will decide, and which actually happens to some extent. So we cannot ignore the importance of the how well spoken the person is who is negotiating, how rational he or she is in his or her approach and speech, how well you communicate that rational, how trustworthy are you, what is your attitude, what is your personality type. All these things, they really decide the outcome of the negotiation. So this particular approach actually focuses on personality traits and says that the behavior, so this comes from psychology. You would be getting it because the name suggests this clearly, behavioral. So this theory, this approach comes from the behavioral sciences, from psychology side, and is focusing on the personality trait of the negotiator. So it is focusing on the persons. So it depends that how, and personality does affect any deal, anything for that matter. So this assumes win or loss. Again, it's not a win-win condition, it's win condition or loss condition. And this particular approach really assumes the role of perception and expectations, because perceptions are part of psychology, are part of the behavior, right? Expectations are also related to the human behavior. So everybody may not, there are people who are very highly opportunistic and highly optimum in their approach. So I have high expectation. There are people who have low expectations. There are people who are very rigid in their perception. They take time to change the perception even after a new experience. Other person may change it quickly after So those are the things which affect the outcome of the negotiation in this approach. And this approach has also certain limitation. This approach focuses on position, right? So so position in the sense that what kind of personality we are dealing, and the perception and the expectations we carry at the table of negotiation. So these were the approaches in negotiation. With this, I would like to end up now, friends. Thank you very much for being with me. Thank you.